Cobra, an agent of ARC, has successfully infiltrated the Raxon facility and sabotaged 2 of the objectives, but on his way to the 3rd, he's been waylaid by the team of Experimental Security Division Hunters. The Hunters have cornered him. They've got a lot of sightlines blocked off, the Hunter is sniffing, and the gun has blocked every single means of entrance and exit without getting spotted. Cobra needs to sabotage the 3rd objective and get out via the top of the map before his time runs out. Can he do it, or will the Hunters close in and squash him like a bug? If this sounds even remotely exciting to you, welcome to Specter Ops. This is a 2 to 5 player hidden movement game by Emerson Matsuchi. The 3rd game of his I'm reviewing, but the 1st that I actually played, because I don't own a copy of this game. This is actually a friend's copy, who I thank profusely for letting me borrow this in order to get this video done. So, first things first, hidden movement game, so technically Cobra, you're not actually on the board. All of the agent movement is done via this piece of paper right here. So not only is his movement kept secret, but his health is also kept secret for multiple abilities that we'll get into shortly. And thankfully the game is actually quite simple to learn. The rulebook's only a couple of pages long, and most of the rules you need to know are in the first 2. So it's a really simple game to get up and going with a fair few players, and all of the abilities you need to worry about are all written down on these cards, so it's nice and easy. It's just a really slipstreamed designed game. It's just really well done in that sense. And it's also really well done in every other sense because it's a great stealth game. It creates a great feeling of claustrophobia. It feels like a huge map, but when the hunters come in and start blocking off routes of hiding, it suddenly becomes a lot more cramped than you might think. But this combination of this huge map, plus all of these hunters and the agent, all with their own unique abilities, in order to keep the game interesting, is what makes it really fun, and what gives you that little bit of leeway to work with to make those matches really exciting. So we're working with a pretty basic 4-player game here. We got 3 hunters on the field, 1 agent, and the agent is technically Cobra, but right now, as you can see down here, all of these are flipped over, because you don't actually get to see who the agent is if you're on the hunter team until you actually see the SOB, which makes things all the more exciting for reasons I'm about to get into. But first I want to explain just some of the basic mechanics so you can follow along when I explain why I like this game. So, basic movement in grid squares is 4 grid squares per turn. Some characters can move more than that, depending on the situation. You can also get in the car and move a bit more, and you can move in any of the 8 cardinals, so you can do 4 directionals if you like. That is absolutely fine, as long as you don't knock over the poor beast there. You can also choose to move less than that, including the agent, so they can choose to be a little bit slow to try and throw off their calculations a bit. And to accomplish an objective, all the agent does is need to get next to it and accomplish the objective at the start of their turn. They must also announce that they're going to accomplish the objective the turn before if the Prophet is in play, because that's one of his abilities. If the agent completes 3 of these objectives, sometimes selected randomly, sometimes not, sometimes visible to the hunters, sometimes not, and they manage to get back out the top of the map, they win. It's really that simple. It goes back and forth between the agent player and the hunter players. Basically, the hunter players want to shut up until the agent player has done their move. That is a mistake I will try not to make anymore in the future, but nonetheless, let me explain to you why I like this game. The powers are a major part of it, right? So, imagine if the hunters had no powers and they were just 3 regular dudes with lines of sight. If they all went to the right and the player playing the agent went to the left, that'd be it. But with these powers, it makes things a fair bit more interesting because it allows you to close in these massive areas full of potential hidey holes. So let me explain to you roughly what all these people do. The gun. She's a sniper. She can shoot further than anyone else in the hunter roster, and she has the ability to basically overwatch down a street or a single line of sight. She can't look down any other lines of sight because everybody can see in every direction all the time. The facing doesn't matter. But when someone passes by, she instantly takes HP off them. Or she can choose to look down every street, and when she sees someone, she can do the roll, and if she gets the certain amount of distance, so if it's a 6, or if it's a 4, I somehow dropped that on a 4. If it's a 4, you can fire 4 spaces. 6 goes 6. With the sniper, if she rolls a 6, she can roll again and add the numbers together. But if she doesn't roll that distance, she doesn't hit. It's that simple. She's just a really nice Overwatch character. The Beast. Really damn fast. He can move 5 spaces, and if he lands directly on top of an enemy, he can deal a ton of damage. But if he doesn't use all that movement, if he just moves 3 spaces or less, he can sniff an area of 5 grid spaces, or was it 4? It is a little weird, but he can sniff an area of spaces around him to see for the presence of the agent. He can't see his exact position, but he knows he's there. So he can give you a rough idea of roughly where the agent is, so everyone else can start closing in. Then you've got the Prophet, who has the ability to see where the agent was 2 turns ago. So you can kind of guess where he's going, or where he will be going to go as is going to happen. So at the very beginning of the game, you're trying to figure out whether he went left or right, but you can't figure out exactly where. You can use the Prophet at, say, turn 4, and you'll notice that he's gone, like, say, to J3, and you can use that to plot out where he might have gone next. He might have tried to cross the road. He might have tried to go further to the left. You can count out the spaces and figure out, okay, he's somewhere in this area now. We should close in on him. He's also got the ability to be a bit more accurate on shots, although he still misses on ones. And I will also point out that he's basically Psycho Mantis. Like, they've taken a lot of inspiration from Metal Gear Solid for this game, but this clearly has taken a ton of inspiration from Psycho Mantis and just his general way of doing things. It looks great. I'm just pointing it out because I think it's bloody sick. Let's refocus that. You've also got a 4th hunter going on here. That's the Puppet. He can move the car anytime he likes, so if someone needs to move around really quick, he can sacrifice his movement for that. And he can also use the motion sensor attached to the car, which tells you roughly what direction the agent player is in if they've moved a specific distance or higher, which can help, but whenever there's a 3-player or a 2-player game, the Puppet never really comes out. He just kind of sits there, and it's unfortunate, but that's just kind of how it is. It's a little bit unbalanced. With that said, though, those are all the hunter powers. Now, I invite you to look at the map again. It's still absolutely huge, but with every character able to see in a 4-directional line of sight and have those abilities on top of that, it suddenly makes things really interesting. Let's take this area to the right here, for example. We put the gun here, so the entrances and exits on every single area are covered. We take the Beast and we put in, let's just say, P26. So we can sniff out this entire, like, part of it here, just leaving these areas alone, right? Then you can move the Phantom. I'm always calling him the Phantom, and it's only in this video recording, and I don't know why. My brain is just having an awful day today. But if we put him on, say, like, M30, for example. So now, we're blocking off a massive sight line. Let's just move those dice. We're blocking off a massive sight line here. We're blocking off a bit of stuff here. We've got this entire area covered for just his presence. And that just leaves a little bit here, and we can just slowly move these 2 up over the course of a few turns in order to close in on that area. Just some really clever positioning, but also some really clever map design, because it takes a really gentle balance in being able to make it so that 3 characters aren't going to completely overwhelm every single hiding spot that there is in a particular quadrant of the map, because every single one of these 4 quadrants has an objective in it, and you need to be able to visit at least 3 of them. So basically the entire map needs to be designed with more hiding spots than they can cover all at one time, but not too many. And it hits that balance really damn well. It's a great example of map design, and simultaneously, it's a great example of player power design, because you find yourself with so many situations in which you can cover a lot of it, and you can make it really hard for the enemy player, and if they make any mistakes, they can be forced into a corner, but at the same time, the agent player is capable of getting themselves out of a lot of sticky situations, whether by stealth or by power. So, it's really well balanced in that way, and as a result, it makes every match tense, because as soon as they even have the roughest idea of where you are, that draw net is going to start to close, your options are going to start to go down, and you're going to need to figure out something quick, because the hunters don't mind if they don't catch you as long as they're wasting your time. They can make you hide in a corner for several turns. God, I hate those bloody notification sounds. They can make you hide in a corner for several turns and just waste away those 40 turns that you have, because you need to do this quick. And it takes 8 turns to get down to the other end of the map, and then 8 turns to get back. See, you do not have much time to spare on top of that. So you need to be quick about it. And just this overall design of being able to place your agents in places where they can close the net while at the same time leaving the agent opportunities to hide and get out. It's really well balanced. And as a result, I found that the agents can do blowouts, the hunters can do blowouts, and there can be ones right in the middle where it comes right down to the wire. Like, for example, I've actually got this game here. I was part of this game on this particular notepad here, where the agent got out in 22 turns. So despite the fact that we had the beast, we had the prophet, and we had the bloody gun as well. All three of them were moving around the map, and he still managed to not only get out in 22 turns, but we didn't even see him. We didn't even get eyes on him until the very end of the game, like the last turn. We knew where he was and we actually saw him and figured out who he was. And at the same time, I've had games where we've just managed to find the guy and just blast him to pieces before he even gets 2 objectives done. It's entirely possible for the game to go one way or another, depending entirely on the strategy, and that's just great. That just shows there's a good amount of balance going on. With that said though, let's talk about the agent and the way that they can throw a spanner in the works. So, you can't even see who the agent is, right? That's good, because there are so many little abilities that they can pull off, and you won't even know that they have the ability to pull them off. So let's just take a quick look at the Beast's ability here. So, when the Beast attacks an agent he shares a space with, roll a die. On a result of 5+, the agent loses 2 HP instead of 1. So he can hurt if he gets right on top of the agent. But there is an agent that has a bit of a problem with that, and that's Cobra. Whenever there's an agent on top of the same space as Cobra, they basically get stunned for a turn, which means they can see the opponent, they can move about 2 squares instead of 6, but they can't attack. So imagine if the Beast figures out where the agent is, goes in, runs right on top of them, and then it turns out that it's Cobra, and they just immediately get stunned. Good stuff. Good damn stuff. It's a good example of bluffing, for example. Or it could be like someone like, say, the orangutan. So, just to give you an example of a strategy you might use with him, he has 6 hit points instead of 4, which is the default for the agent, although you get more if you're playing with more players. It's a little bit of a balancing thing. So he could simply choose to just run on by a sniper, doing an overwatch, take a hit, and willingly continue on, because it would work out better for his strategy to do so, just because he's got the health to spare, he can risk it. But everyone else might be thinking, we think he's a Cobra because he's trying to get us to land on him, but at the same time, he's not. He just happens to be the orangutan. Or he could be a spider, which is like, hey, you can see me if you want, because I can more effectively dodge you. Or it could be Blue Jay, who has the ability to get objective spaces from 2 spaces away. Now, that's not to say that the guards can't figure out who it is, because there are certain actions that a player can take which might reveal who they are. Like, for example, Blue Jay, who can hit objectives from 2 spaces away. The hunter people might be able to figure out, okay, they always had to be 2 spaces away in order for that set of movements to work, so it's probably Blue Jay we're dealing with. We can effectively afford to go right in on them. But even then, they've got another extra set of tricks up their sleeve, and that's these item cards down here. And these item cards are everything from special abilities for just one particular character to just really useful general equipment, like flashbangs, which cause people to be stunned, or smoke grenades, which cause them to be blind, adrenal surges, which can be used to make you run a couple of extra spaces for 1 turn, or a stealth field, which is like, you can't see me unless you're right next to me, haha. And the best thing about some of these is that you don't reveal them. So if you've got a bunch of adrenal surges and stealth fields, you can just tap one, and you don't have to reveal what it is, and they can be like, oh god, is he moving quick? Or is he making it so that he can slide right past us without being seen? It's all about using your items effectively, using your abilities effectively, and timing your slips through the dragnet. And it's always tense. You never know if your plan is going to work out the way that it did. You never know if they're going to clamp right down on that one hidey hole you had available to you. You never know if they're just going to walk right past you. And that's the best part of Specter Ops. It is so well balanced around the idea of these powers interplaying with each other, with having to make guesses about what the agent is doing and where, with having to use your positioning skills to a T in order to make sure they can't move without being spotted. And as a result, the game is really damn enjoyable. So that was a basic 4-player game where there's 3 hunters. You can play with 3 people and they control a hunter each, or 2 people where 1 player controls 2 hunters at the same time. That works. It also shows off what objectives you have to hit. In this particular case, they don't know what objectives are being gone after, but because they've got 3 agents, they have more covering ability in terms of how much space they're able to take care of. So it balances things out that way. And you also get more item cards on top of that. Where it really gets interesting though, and adds yet another layer of strategy, is when you've got 5 players, each of whom are controlling an individual hunter. There's the 4 cards there. One of them is a trader. You have a unfriendly agent if you're playing as a hunter, and that adds just a little bit more complexity, which just gives this game a little bit extra flavor. Because when you've got 4 hunters running around, each giving out their own information, but you know one of them is false, you have to be constantly double checking all the information you get as a hunter. You have to be cross-referencing, you have to be making sure that certain information is correct and some isn't. Like, for example, hey, we've got 2 people looking down this road. That means there can't be somebody down here, right? Because the trader would work. But then everybody spreads out a bit. You're trying to cover as much space as possible, and you've left enough people far enough away that the trader will be able to slip by without anyone so much as noticing. It does come combined with the fact that the trader either has to stay hidden until the end of the game, or if they end up being revealed, they basically need to make a run for it. So they need to end up at the exit the same way that the agent does. So the agent needs to play very carefully. And where it really gets interesting for the agent, instead of just being a problem for one trader on the hunter team, is that the agent is actually the one that has to do all of the false information. So the agent has to say, okay, you didn't see me there, or you did see me there. And they have to play this balance of keeping their trader agent hidden while at the same time sliding by any opportunity they can in order to get their objective done. And it's great. It's a really clever way of handling a trader system in a game like this. And when the trader is revealed, they get to take another agent card, they get to take some equipment, and they basically just get to cause problems for the hunter team as well. And they even get their own hidden movement sheet. So yeah, really clever idea. I wholeheartedly approve of it. And it makes 5-player games just that little bit different from 4-player games in order to give that game a little bit extra replayability. And it's really damn good at it. As a result, I love Specter Ops. I think it's a really damn good game. It's a really clever conversion of the stealth idea into a multiplayer format. And it really helps that it looks gorgeous too. All of the art on the board, all of the fancy little things, even the miniatures here just look great. They've got a ton of detail. They are nice and detailed. Tiny bit flimsy on the really small parts, like for example, despite what you might think, this gun cannot shoot around walls. That's just what happens when you get these miniatures in this smaller size, though. Sometimes it just happens and it can't be helped. But even then, it comes right down to like the front of the box, which just has this absolutely gorgeous rogues gallery thing going on in the background here with the heroes down the bottom there. And yeah, it looks sick. It genuinely looks sick. This absolutely stands out on a shelf. Really well done, guys. So, yeah. That is pretty much all I have to say. Except, I feel like I need to also point this out. The man who developed this, Emerson Matsuchi, really good game designer. He designed a 1-to-4 player, cooperative, stealth, miniature supported game. Which sounded really good, looked really good, and absolutely stuck to the same theme as stealth, because it was a Metal Gear Solid board game. I say was, because it's been cancelled. And I am so mad. I am so mad. There is one Simpsons clip I could put in here to explain my feelings about this.
Kids, won't you step outside for a second?
And you know what the worst part is?
This game, Specter Ops, works great with Metal Gear Solid music. If you have like the VR training music and then like the encounter music and you swap between them whenever you get seen and whenever you slip back into the shadows, it adds so much atmosphere to this game, which makes me even more disappointed that we didn't get the official Metal Gear Solid board game.
With that said, yeah, Specter Ops is absolutely great. The interplay of having this huge map with a ton of nooks and crannies to hide in, plus the powers on the hunters to make it so that they can position themselves perfectly to get as much of a view on the area as possible, makes this entire concept of stealth work really well. Not to mention it's really claustrophobic and it's balanced to a T so that games can go any which way, and it makes it so that every single game is tense because you never know what's going to happen next. The design is great, the agents are all really cool, the overall presentation is great, and I have nothing bad to say about it really. There's also a standalone expansion which basically just changes up the map, adds a few more agents and a few more hunters. It's even cross-compatible with this one. So, yeah. Look, I really like Specter Ops. It's a really damn good game. I look forward to playing more of it, and if you're looking for a stealth game as a board game that you can play with your friends, yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. This has been Blue Maxima. I'll see you all next time.